Body bags were horror lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with another round table discussion, a collaborative effort between Glenn, aka BDGReviews, from way up north in Canada. Well, not too far up north in Canada, but far north enough. And way down south of me, not too south, Lonnie, or Mr. Macabre's movie library, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, fresh off of George A. Romero, now we take a look at our picks for directorial debuts. A top 5, but with some honorable mentions, either 5 honorables real quick or 3 honorables with real quick, and then on into probably a good discussion of the 5. Really, for all intents and purposes, no discussion between us on our 5s. So I know we're all curious to see how these ultimately land. And for my own part, I'll just say this. Mine will be in chronological order by year released.
Nice.
I wasted too many brain cells trying to figure out what would be 2 or 3 or 5 or just put it chronological. So, but I think it does have the makings of a nice top 10 in some way or form. So directorial debut. Guys who got off just an incredible, hitting a home run right out of the park.
Yeah.
First time out, and I'm curious to see how far back in time we go, and maybe the possibilities of here in the present, because I know there's a few directors that have gotten off to a pretty good start in their first time at bat. So first, let's just go around real quick. Where can we find you, Glenn?
I'm at BDGReviews on YouTube, as well as Body Bags. We drop these episodes. We drop the Graveyard Shit podcast as well. We drop that over there. You can also find me on the Graveyard Shit podcast on like Spotify and places like that. Yeah, that's me.
Lonnie?
Okay, you can find me at my YouTube channel, Mr. Macabre's Movie Library. Also, you can find me here at Body Bags when past movie reviews I've done, and I get to collaborate with the guys on these discussions. And every once in a while too, I get a chance. I get to join Rob and Glenn on the podcast, and get to have fun with them too. So that's where you can find me.
You can find me at VHS82 apostrophe, my YouTube channel, as well as Letterboxd and the Graveyard Shit podcast. Our collaborative efforts, of course, with Body Bags. Seems like forever, doesn't it, that we had to put up a video?
Yeah.
It's been a while, yeah.
This is not going to sound right, but I don't miss it. But sometimes I miss it a little bit, but I don't know. I guess the rigor of just every week, getting hyped up to figure out what you're going to do, and then, but I'll say this, without Body Bags, my collection would not be what it is. I mean, it just wouldn't be, the diversity of what's in it. There are things I just would have never bought probably, but they're on there, thanks to Body Bags. So, all right. You guys want to cover real quick what's, just real quick. I mean, we got Billy for our new Silent Night, Deadly Night. What's his name there from Halloween Ends?
Yeah, I got no problem with that at all.
What was his name? Is it Corey?
That's the character. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember his real name, but the thing is, I always thought, there was such potential with the Corey Cunningham character that was, unfortunately squandered because that's not the movie that everyone wanted. I still think there is a way that they could have done it if they'd introduced him in one of the earlier movies. Maybe have like the events that took place that lead him to what he is, maybe have that take place on the night of Michael's escape. And then there's sort of like some like connection there, not like an actual connection, but they could have done something that way. So it'll be nice to see him in a role where he can actually be the villain that we want him to be, without having to try to upstage Michael Myers, because you're never going to do it.
No. I'm curious to see what that first trailer looks like.
Yeah.
We failed to mention last time we were together, Mr. John Carpenter finally got a start. And as well as he's on tour too right now, I think, isn't he? With
I think so.
I wonder if is Cody with him? I wonder if Cody's with him, his son.
I would assume so. They seem to, when it comes to music, they seem to do a lot together.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad John got it while he was still alive and not.
Yeah.
Definitely well earned, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've said before, can you think of another director where almost every single one of his movies, if it comes on, you can sit through it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are I'll say maybe 3 movies in his entire filmography that I just don't watch. I have no interest in Starman. I don't like The Ward. And, Village of the Damned, I could take it or leave it. But the rest, I'll watch them all.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with
the original, though. I love the original Village.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I don't mind, Carpenter's version of Village of the Damned. I don't know. I think, because I was young, I went to go see it with my mom in the theater, and it was just, and also too, like, to me, it's like, it has a soft spot in my heart because that was the last movie that Christopher Reeve did before he had his tragic accident.
True.
And you had a really good cast in there. You had him, you had Chris Galley, Linda Kozlowski, Michael Pare, all that stuff. And I think it might have helped that I saw the remake before I saw the original, but I don't know. And I love the score in it, everything else, and Mark Hamill's in it and all that stuff, So yeah, I do have a soft spot in my heart for that movie. I think the only I wasn't really big on. I kind of agree with Glenn. Starman wasn't really my favorite of his movies, and I do have to admit, like his first movie, Dark Star, it's not really something I go back to very much.
So that is getting a 4K release, just so everyone knows.
I saw that. I was like, ever since the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, it's like the sad part was I actually didn't mind The Ward, but as soon as the whole thing, I was kind of like, I can do without Amber Heard, so I can get my collection. But anything else, John Carpenter is like, I'm down.
For sure. I mean, and do you know of any other director that is as timeless? Like, you could take any John Carpenter movie, no matter what it's set, and if you were to bring it up in time to modern day, it would still be just as entertaining.
One funny quick story I have is like I remember, I was watching Big Trouble in Little China and stuff, and that's one of my absolute favorite Carpenter movies. And my brother was just kind of like, oh, I'm not really big on that movie. I was like, I never watched all the way through. And I told him, I was like, the reason why I like it is because, Kurt Russell is hilarious in this movie. So I told him about, even though like Russell's character is all bravado and he's all like, like, I'm such a badass, I could take on everybody. When he actually gets into a real fight, he's completely useless and all this. And my brother was like, really? And so he sat down, watched the movie, and he was all like, that movie's actually really good. It was funny as hell. I like that movie. It's like
it's so good.
It's like that was kind of the fun part. Like he was kind of spoofing, like way before, like he was spoofing kind of the Macho Men kind of tough guys, tough guy movies and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, Big Trouble. I can't wait for that to get a 4K. I will jump on that in a heartbeat. So
Nice.
Well, by the time people see that or hear it, well, I don't know about you guys, but I would have revisited Revenge of the Sith on the big screen because it's out for its anniversary run. So very much looking forward to that. And something to be said about
I love that. I love that poster. The new theatrical poster. Oh, gorgeous.
It's something to be revisited too. We as a family rewatched or revisited Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And I wasn't sure. But I think I don't know. There's something about revisiting Marvel movies, or you could say Star Wars. Before things really got freaking bad. Yeah. Even revisiting, Doctor Strange, that particular, I don't know. I found myself really, kind of enjoying just, especially that Bruce Campbell cameo in there.
Oh yeah.
And I love how they come back to him at the end of the credits. Yeah. I forgot about that.
One thing I wish, I know there was talk that they were going to do it, that Bruce Campbell was going to be a Doctor Strange variant. In some world, he was going to be like a jerk and everything. I wish they'd done that, because that would have been perfect. Just one of these worlds, it's Bruce Campbell. I just wish they'd gone to a world where everyone was Bruce Campbell. like people walk along with their babies, it has Bruce Campbell's face. Like that episode of The Simpsons where they went to Bronson, Missouri, and everyone was Charles Bronson. Men, women, children, didn't matter. They were all Charles Bronson.
Oh, I got to mention this real quick. So I reviewed Singerian, however you say it, the last episode of the X-Files. Total nod to the Gates of Hell trilogy.
Nice.
I could not believe, like, you get basically this plastic surgery part of this hospital where you get this doctor who basically is your Dr. Freudstein character. And in fact, the initials are the same as Dr. Freudstein. I can't remember his name exactly, but same initials and everything. But you've got a laser burn through the head that reminds you of the drill bit scene from Gates.
Nice.
You've got an acid bath on the face that reminds you of the Beyond. You've got a beautiful scene that involves well, she's your protagonist in the show, but she is a witch lying in wait in a bathtub full of blood. And as the antagonist comes in, she just comes right up out with a knife in her hand, just like Anthropophagus, the wine vat. She comes up out of that barrel. And but yeah, but it's funny because there are two sisters who wrote the teleplay for it, and they have only done one episode, or they only ever did one episode. They were mostly known for their writing for Charmed, I think.
Oh, wow.
But no matter where I went, I could not find any connection to Fulci or Italian cinema or whatever. It's strangest thing, but yet it's right there. It is so plain as day. It's I had fun with that one. That one is, and I'll tell you what, I will never have, not that I would anyways, but plastic surgery of any type, no, ain't gonna happen. No, it opens up with a liposuction scene gone bad.
Oh
yeah, where he does the liposuction on the wrong patient. It's nasty, man. It is nasty.
Yeah.
But apparently, the episode was heavily criticized by viewers for being for being too gory and for the plot, the story being too incoherent. And it sounds like an Italian movie to me.
Yeah, it does.
I loved it though. I just could not believe it, and I could not believe that there was no mention in the trivia anywhere of any of that.
That's weird. I mean, like movie fans and genre fans, we tend to be a very like inbred thing. Like fans of like the X-Files are more than likely fans of like other shows, and there's fans of other shows. So I'm surprised no one picked up on it.
Well, I mean, you got 11 seasons. I mean, it
That's
buried
true.
in season 4. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I just could not believe it. Those things are always fun when you come across those things.
Oh yeah.
Anything else new? I mean, you got the Badlands trailer. You've got
Well, I know this probably isn't going to interest you two guys as much, but I saw the trailer for season 2 Wednesday coming out. I'm looking.
For what?
Especially Wednesday. The Adams Family. Yeah, I'm looking for that, especially now since supposedly Jenna Ortega said that season 2 is supposed to be like way more focused on the horror element of the Adams Family, and there's a lot more of the dark comedy and stuff like that. Kind of, get rid of like the love triangle stuff and everything else. And so yeah, I saw the trailer and everything, and from what I hear, Steve Buscemi's supposed to play a real interesting character in the second season. So I do admit I'm looking forward to that one. So I'm happy about it.
My favorite moment, man, was when she dropped the piranhas in the pool. That was great.
It's like, oh, there's some good jokes. I love the part like when they're doing the dance and all that stuff, and then they put the red blood cut, starts raining down. And at first she's happy, and then she's all like, "Red paint? You guys couldn't even spring for pig's blood."
Who was it? Who was it in the Office episode that dropped a tank full of piranhas in the toilet, and then what's his name went in there? the bigger guy went in there, and all of a sudden he comes around. What the fuck? Comes out of the bathroom. He must have got bit. I'm pretty sure it was Dwight dumped some piranhas in the toilet, trying to get rid of them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Rob, that's the thing. You just had a birthday, Rob. That's why you're getting the balloons.
Well, maybe.
There we go.
Balloons. You just celebrated your birthday, so. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I also love that joke too. I love that joke too with Wednesday. Like Morticia is like, Wednesday, you wouldn't want a criminal record, would you? You wouldn't want a mark on there. And she's like, of course not. I don't want people to think I couldn't finish the job.
Yeah.
You won't, after she dumps the piranhas in the pool, like you wouldn't people. You almost kill somebody. No, I wouldn't want anybody to think I couldn't finish the job. That was. I'm looking at that one. So.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else out there?
Yeah, they're going to be making a movie of the video game The Mortuary Assistant, which is a genuinely terrifying video game. I've never actually played it. I just watch other people play it, but it's creepy as hell. Apparently, it's going to filming is now underway. Willa Holland, who is in Arrow, and Paul Sparks from Castle Rock are going to star in it. So I'm down for that. And also, we should mention Lara Park Lincoln passed away yesterday. So
May she rest.
Yeah,
My
we
favorite.
don't know. Oh, okay. I just saw something else. Apparently, they're going to reboot Urban Legend.
Oh, I did see that earlier.
I don't know.
Did you guys see the trailer for I Know What You Did?
No.
I haven't watched it yet, but the fact that
it's one of those. It has has one of those moments, and maybe it's just me, but when you first see oh, I can't remember his character name in there from the boyfriend from the original movies.
Yeah,
Of
Freddie
course,
Prinze
he's a lot
Jr.
older now. When one of the characters one of the new characters approaches him, and as soon as he turns and the camera gets on him and he says his line, I just like, oh, this is not how it's supposed to feel. But it's this legacy character. God, I don't know. I hope the movie isn't quite like that.
Yeah.
Because I have a soft spot of my soft spot for the I Know What You Did. I saw them in the theater, and
Oh, yeah,
I don't know,
I like them.
for what they are. I always enjoyed them.
I liked them except for the third one because that wasn't
Right.
really a movie in that series.
I'm just waiting for all the jokes to come in where everybody, when Jennifer Love Hewitt shows up in the new movie, everybody's gonna be like, she's a lot bouncier than she was in the original movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
we should probably talk also about the new Predator movie, which is getting a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Which Prey deserved but never got.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to say the least.
Got Evil Dead Burns. They keep reminding us it's coming, so that's a good thing. And the director's, I'm not even going to try to say his name, but he promised this will be nasty and it will hurt. So we got that to hope for.
I hope so. I've always thought when it comes to movies like Evil Dead, you need a director that is willing to attack the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we don't get that very much.
No.
We may see that in our top fives, though, a little bit.
Who knows?
But I'm going to venture to say, though, like probably about the best example we get of that now is probably the Terrifier films.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. So.
Yeah, true. I was just looking like right now, just at the, the write-up about the new Predator film, and I'm just seeing the screenshot for the trailer, and I kid you not, it looks like the Predator looks like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Just in this picture, like honestly, if you covered up where it said Predator Badlands, I would assume it was a trailer for the newest Mortal Kombat. I don't know what to make of that. Just saying. Just saying. Well, I hope it's good. I loved Prey. So, oh my God. I just read someone's comment. And it just says, at least this one doesn't have the power of autism.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. Just going back to the Predator, and apparently autism is a superpower now. I don't know. I'm gonna just leave that alone.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
We didn't decide an order. How do you want to do this?
Any way you want. So fine by me. So
if you want to do it the usual way, Glenn first, then Rob, then me.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right,
okay.
Glenn, honorables.
I got 3 honorables, and I decided to get these out of the way right at the beginning. They are Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, Stuart Gordon's Reanimator, and Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw. Now, I know like some of these people have directed other stuff before, but I'm going purely on, this is like the feature film directorial debuts. So, I put them all in there because they're all great movies, but I wanted to go with some stuff that's a bit different for my choices, including one, like I said, I don't think either of you will have seen. So those are my honorable mentions.
All right. Try to fly through this real quick. Beautiful love letter to Fulci. Ted Gagan. We are still here.
I love that movie.
This has got to be, as far as first one out of the park. I couldn't. I just could not believe how good this freaking movie was and still is. And I watch it every once in a while. This is an easy go-to.
And effects by Marcus Cook as well. So
yeah,
awesome.
And it's good stuff. I'm always amazed that this was his directorial debut, but Richard Stanley Hardware. Nice little honorable for 1990.
Nice.
Freaking fantastic freaking movie. I think it's the best for me personally, apocalyptic vision of what the world could look like someday if that's where we went. I think it's pretty freaking close. I think has that vibe. I pushed for a 5, hoping you guys would be okay with a 5, because I just without it, this wouldn't be in there. But I've worked in grocery stores before. Scott Spiegel freaking did an amazing freaking job on this. But Intruder,
oh yeah,
I had so much freaking fun renting this on VHS back in the day. And of course, Synapse, putting out the director's cut of this, the jigsaw scene. There's so many fun scenes, and the cameos at the end. Of course, Scott Spiegel being part of that Evil Dead group from the early days. Now, the next one really should be in a top 5 and not outside looking in, just for the power. But I was tossed between this and the other choice. One was going to be outside, one was going to be inside. And it just was really, so now I'm going to make you wonder what the other one is. But I decided this one would be just outside looking in. John McNaughton's absolutely incredible Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. One of the few films I rented on VHS back in the day and thought to myself, what the am I doing watching this? I have no business watching this at this age. And I don't even know if I actually got through. I might have got through it because I think I remember the end. But that home invasion scene, as seen through, I mean, that was the stuff that made up nightmares for me, because I have always had an issue with home invasion when it's done, because that's terrifying, man. It's terrifying that you could wake up and someone could actually be in your house. Henry, based on Henry Lee Lucas, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And Michael Rooker, freaking awesome, man. Got his career flying. What a performance and he every once in a while you'll see him in a movie where you'll just get a tiny, tiny glimpse of Henry. Little bit, if you knew Henry, but this is a tough watch, man. But any real good directorial debut should be a tough watch. There was something else I was gonna. Oh yeah, well he would go on a little bit later and do the Borrower, which I have, which is great too. And this, here we go. And so my last one, as a honorable mention, you throw, and I'm pretty sure the other guy who tackled a similar themed sequel, I think probably had an easier job moving his film forward than this guy, because this guy was dealing with a really new aspect or chapter in the story that would just be legendary from that point forward. In fact, not only did he do part 2, but he also went on and did part 3. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. Mr. Steve Miner and Friday the 13th part 2. Amazing to think that this is his directorial debut, because this is a phenomenal sequel. And unlike his counterpart, who just took a pre-existing character and moved him forward, he actually brought the character in, developed him, and gave him the most iconic mask in the third part that maybe any legendary cinema slasher killer has ever been given. So Steve Miner, excellent. So my 5 outside looking in honorable mentions, but all good, very good movies, I think.
Nice.
Okay. I'm going to try to get through this as fast as I can, even though, unfortunately, we all know I have a tendency to be long-winded. But I'm going to try to do this as quick as I can. These are my 5 top mentions. This one is, okay, I hope everybody will forgive me, but I'm going to do a comedy. But the reason why I picked this movie is because it's an amazing movie. This movie has ended up having such an impact on the world. And as a matter of fact, just a little while ago, before we even started the video, let's talk about he had gotten a 4-pack that were disaster films, and this was a movie that took on disaster. I think you already know what it is. You got the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams, just what they did with the movie and how this movie is, it impacted comedy, is now considered one of the greatest comedies ever made. It's impacted pop culture. It's going on so long, and it's like, obviously now, it was amazing that it ended up turning Leslie Nielsen it helped turn Leslie Nielsen from a leading man serious actor into a comedy genius over his career. With like The Naked Gun. Now we got the new Naked Gun coming up with Liam Neeson in it and everything, which I'm looking forward to that. That looks like that's going to be and everything else. But just, and then unfortunately, Jim Abrams just passed away. Top Secret, unfortunately, Val Kilmer just passed away. But just like what this movie had started, and just this movie has gone on to be legendary, and just, that's such a feat, though, is to be considered one of the greatest comedies ever made, not just any list of all time. And just what this movie did, and this set the bar for, if you were ever going to parody a movie, if you were ever going to do a spoof or anything like that, this movie set the bar how you do it. And everybody, from the Wayans brothers to everybody else, like, this is so. I just felt like I had to include it. So the introduction of Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams. Jim Abrams go on to do the Hot Shot movies. Jerry Zucker go and do Ghost, which is one of the greatest love stories of all time now. So I just feel like, I felt like this was worth mentioning. So again, I hope everybody will forgive me, but I felt like I had to include this one here. So.
Oh yeah, it deserves it.
So Airplane. This one here, I mentioned this a little while ago, and when I found out that Rob and I had, or not Rob, Glenn and I were going to do same movie, I decided to switch one out and put this one in. This is probably going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to go with Clay Nisky for me. Clay Nisky's film as a director. I think it's amazing that, all the years that he's directed movies, of course, mostly he's always going to be known for his westerns and obviously Dirty Harry and stuff like that. But to think directorial debut, thriller, horror film, Fatal Attraction type thriller, and it's very well made. It's Clint was really good. It's interesting. Like, if you haven't seen the movie, I actually recommend checking it out, because even though like Clint Eastwood never really dabbled in horror, suspense thriller much, the man knew how to shoot a pretty spooky atmospheric film, and there is some genuine suspense and some genuine tension in this movie. And so I would definitely recommend it. I think it's a start to will become a huge, long-running career, and it's not just an actor, but producer, a director, and a musician. So yeah, I would go with Clint Eastwood with playing this for me. This one here, it's a little bit comedy, but it's definitely, it's kind of like comedy and horror. I'm going to go with John Lennon film, Block.
Nice.
This movie is a lot of fun, and it's, it's mostly comedy, but, it's definitely got some grim moments in it. I will say that. You got John Landis himself going around in a monkey suit. It was the first collaboration between John Landis and Rick Baker, and the whole, it was interesting because, like, if you watch the Masters of Horror episode where he did Deer Woman, and Landis talked about that he went to go see the movie Trog with Joan Crawford, and he's like, this is so disgusting. It has such such contempt for the audience, and he was just like, he's like, I felt like I had to say something about it, so I had to make a movie that just tore that kind of movie apart, because I love monster movies and everything, and it felt like that movie just has so much disrespect for the fans and the audience of those kind of movies, and he's like, so he's like, what, I'll make my own goddamn movie, and so he raised the money himself, and he shot it in 10 days, and most of the time, in the hottest summer in LA, going around with this monkey suit. It's so much an homage to like King Kong and Mighty Joe Young and stuff like that. And just this movie, it's an amazing watch. It's really a lot of fun. So I definitely recommend Schlock. I just felt like, I'm sorry guys, I had to include this one. Yeah, the very first movie by Quentin Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs.
Oh yeah.
I just felt like I needed to do this one. I mean, God, Quentin Tarantino, obviously, like from where he started to where he went on to, and just to see, like, with every movie, how, he's only done 9 movies, and it's like, of course, we're all waiting for that number 10 because he promised 10 movies. But it's like, just to see how just his learning curve and just how everything he did just got better and better with each movie. And this movie is definitely no slouch. It's a great crime film. It's very bloody. It's very violent. And, Quentin Tarantino always told the story about one of the screenings that before the movie started, that they mentioned to the audience that there was going to be a scene, a very violent torture scene. And of all people, Wes Craven stood up and walked out. He couldn't take it. That was a funny story that he always talked about. And, but yeah, just, a great crime film. And like I said, just bloody and gory, has one of the most iconic scenes. And then, the birth of, like, considered one of the greatest movie directors of all time now. So I just had to put in Reservoir Dogs. So.
Oh yeah.
And for my last honorable mention, this movie, okay, I'm going to go with Cannibal the Musical.
Yes. Yes.
First movie by Trey Parker and his collaboration with Matt Stone, which obviously they would go on and do many other films. They would do, Basketball, Team America, obviously South Park, which is, almost 30 years now, South Park. Can you believe it?
Wow.
This movie is amazing. It is funny. I'm not even a big fan of musicals, but the songs in this movie are really catchy. They're fun to listen to. They're fun to sing, and all this stuff. And I was like, it's fun to, like, nobody would ever notice, but you go around, it's a Spadowinkle day. But then the cannibal part, it gets bloody. There's gore in here. All that kind of stuff. The very opening of the film is just a blood and gore fest of Trey Parker just tearing everybody apart and, like, eating people and all this other kind of stuff. And then, like, the nods to so many horror movies are in this. Definitely like Friday the 13th, when the guys are walking up, they see the guy standing there, and he's like, could you help us? We're trying to get to Colorado territory. He's like, dude, we're all doomed. You're doomed to go up there, It's just, the nods and the links to horror films and everything else, and this movie is a laugh a minute, but it's so great. And just like I said, and to see where the two of them would go on from there. And that's the thing, I've said it before. It's like, if you ever watch South Park, consistently watch it, you could tell that Trey Parker and Matt Stone are huge horror movie fans. They put so many references, so many nods, so many winks to horror films throughout the entire series. They do so much stuff to show their love for horror films and everything else. And it's like, you could tell these guys love the genre. So that's the last. So Cannibal the Musical. So those are going to be my top 5 honorable mentions.
Very nice. Okay, so we're into the actual top 5 now. So I'm going to start off with, well, You guys know what it is. Last House on the Left. Wes Craven's directorial debut. You come out the gate making one of the most mean-spirited movies ever. It kind of says something. I don't know what it says, but I know it says something. And it's not every day. Like this, the story of Last House on the Left is a very dark story. Everyone knows it by now. If you don't, you shouldn't be watching this video. You should be watching Last House on the Left. You know, every part of it just works. The acting works. You genuinely feel sorry for the victims in it, which is something, you know, horror movies have a tendency to be like cannon fodder characters. You know, they're there to be killed off, and that's, you know, part of it. You feel bad for the two girls in this. You don't feel too bad for the killers because they get what they get, but you know, this is a film that shows the seed of genius. You see where he would, you know, he'd go on to do other stuff, but you see the seeds of it in Last House. And the fact also that this has the perfect ending. You know, this is a perfect example of a movie that has an ending that it deserves. You know, a lot of people will tack on a happy ending on this. You can't tack a happy ending onto Last House on the Left. It just doesn't work. It needs to be horrible. It needs to be dark. It needs to be a movie that you watch and you feel you need to have a shower after you've watched it. And Last House definitely falls into that category. So my number 5, Last House on the Left. And this edition from Arrow is gorgeous, and I recommend anyone who can to get it.
That was definitely one I rented when I was a kid and wondered what on earth I was doing watching it.
Yeah.
But I'd never forget the end, though. The end. And you know, and as my memory of the end, you know, matches pretty close to what the end really is. But I don't know, as a kid, when you're just a teenager watching something like that for the first time, the power of the images that it puts in you is so deep. And I just the thought of the sheriff turning around and allowing the father to go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, man, I was like, what the holy crap. And
yeah.
That is an amazing and a great story of him and Cunningham's relationship. Just what a start for a guy who just wanted to make art films.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, you know, if I could just add on to that, I think, you know, one of the things I think is amazing, though, is for a man who started out, like, he didn't know anything about horror movies. He admitted, it's like, I know when I made this movie, I knew nothing about horror movies. I didn't know how to write a horror story. I knew nothing about how to structure it. So for a guy who went in not knowing anything about how to do it, and then, like, to me, I think, like, you have the part of the movie where you have, you know, the Mary character trying to convince Junior to let her go and everything. You know, hey, man, let me go in my house. My father will get you drugs and this and that. And at the same time, you have Phyllis, you know, doing her best to try to get away from the others and everything else. Like, that scene is so suspenseful and so, you know, it's like, oh my God, are they going to get away? And then the way it ends up for both of the girls and all that, you know, like, that's terrible. So for a guy who knew nothing about how to structure a terror scene or anything like that, I mean, for his first try, I think that was a pretty damn good effort, in my opinion.
You're damn right.
Hey,
And
you know,
David Hess, man, you can't say enough about him as a
Oh yeah.
freaking monster character. And I mean, and the thing that always just blasted my mind about him is he wrote music for Elvis.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and then of course, you know, the movie that I always look for occasionally, and I just keep wishing it would get a new release so it would be affordable and I could finally get into my collection, was his, pretty sure it was his directorial debut, To All a Good Night,
yeah.
which
I
I just get a kick out of. And then of course his work in Ruggero Deodato's House on the Edge of the Park is, I mean, similar character in a way, but it's got its own wrinkles in there. And isn't Giovanni Lamberto Ricci in that too with him as his sidekick? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is how this night's gonna go, man. These movies, man. Well, how old were you, Glenn, when you first saw it?
Who? Too young. I saw it on VHS, and I remember seeing it and thinking, when I watched it, like, I shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, because the thing is with it, like I said, you have certain feelings about movies when you watch them. You know, Last House feels real.
Yeah.
You know, there's no slasher. There's no, you know, there's no Jason. There's no Freddy. There's no, you know, there's no ghost. There's no demon. There's nothing. It's like, this is just human evil.
Yeah.
And like I said, it makes you feel like you want to have a shower.
it feels,
You know what?
does-
I'm coining a new genre. I'm calling it shower horror. And it, you know, a movie that you watch it and you feel dirty after you've watched it.
I'm gonna
Like,
say,
you feel grimy and like, ugh.
you know, it's like they say, you know, it doesn't even feel like a movie. It just feels like a bunch of psychopaths actually kidnapped a couple of girls and just filmed raping and killing them for fun. You know,
Yeah.
that's what it almost feels like. You know,
Yeah, it does.
And interesting, pretty kind of a, well, not remake, but I mean, definitely a reflective thought on, is it The Virgin Spring?
Yeah.
Yeah, which that in its own right is a powerful movie. I mean, you know, when the realization comes across, I think more in that one, maybe. Well, mom and I mean, Max von Sydow. I mean, when they realize what's happened, oh my gosh, that's an incredible movie too. And then of course, last train,
I
last,
train murder.
yeah. I mean, you know, another similar, you know, not
Mhm.
as well as done, yeah, as Last House, but yeah, interesting. Yeah. How old were you, Lonnie, when you first saw it?
I think like around 84, 85. So I was probably like around 7, 8 years old when I saw it. But the problem is though, is like when my mother rented the VHS tape to watch, you know, that was back when you had that VHS tape that was all chopped up. So a lot of the stuff I didn't see until later. A lot of the more gruesome stuff I didn't see until later when I got the very first like MGM DVD. So for a long time, the only way I saw was the edited version. And then when I got the DVD and started seeing the uncensored version, I was like, whoa, okay. So, you know, so
Oh, I was surprised actually. I mean, I was probably, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that, maybe, when I brought it home on VHS.
Hmm.
And I got through it. Um, I can't think of, I mean, there was a few that I did not get through. Cannibal Holocaust, I didn't get through. I stopped it and took it back. I wasn't ready for that. I'm sure there was a few like that, you know, but it is interesting as a kid, you can sort of have your own moral compass about things and decide on your own without somebody else telling you that, yeah, I'm not ready for this. And
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I don't think I was ready for Last House, but somehow I got through it. I'm pretty sure I got through it. And that, yeah, that left a memory, boy. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Number
You're next.
5. Time to do an unboxing real quick.
Okay.
I'm not giving any hints. So number 5, let me just do the. I just got this in the mail the other day, and I'll speak for a few months once I open it up. But I am so. And Lonnie, you probably have this, and you're gonna have to tell me. Maybe Glenn, you do too. You're gonna have to tell me everything that's in it. But you guys ready? Yeah, you ready for this?
Oh yeah.
My number 5, directorial debut. Saw it on the big screen not that long ago.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
nice.
Mr. Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, 2003, but we all know he started working on it in 1999. And the story is a very long-winded story. I won't get all into it, but it begins with Universal, makes its way through MGM, and ultimately Lionsgate is what saves it. And a very long journey that begins on pretty much carte blanche, a blank check to work on the studio lot, not too far from the Psycho House, getting aggravated because the Jaws ride is too loud. And yes, I have listened to way too many interviews with this guy. He is Rob Zombie. I saw this on the big screen. The third act will always be my favorite part of the film. I think once you get under into the labyrinth, I think there's a great callback to Fulci's City of the Living Dead. In fact, I just mentioned that in a Facebook group the other day, and to my surprise, because you never know what you're going to get when you mention zombie, and the guy was very quick to, dang, yeah, I never thought about it, but you're right. I think that is a great callback, yeah. First time I saw this, the first time I saw the teaser trailer, not knowing that the film was going to get derailed for a while, the teaser actually gave me a nightmare. I can't remember exactly all that it was, but I just remember. I remember thinking to myself, "Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch that. I'm probably going to avoid that one." And then finally, it finally got its release, and I finally did come around and finally see it. And it took a little bit, but the more with my love for Fulci and everything else, the more I saw in this a lot of the things of why I love Italian cinema. And Rob is a great guy to call back on the '70s drive-in classics, Grindhouse, his penchant for resurrecting careers. And for him to come out, and I'd say this too, everybody wants to automatically, well, it's his, call to, Texas Chainsaw. More than that, I think way more than that is Spider Baby, Hill's film. There are moments in that movie, and then even deeper into, Wales, the Old Dark House, but Spider Baby, I think probably has just as much, if not maybe a little bit more influence on this than even Texas does. Because I think there's this slow evolution from, Wales film all the way through Spider Baby, through Texas, the Sawyer clan, ultimately through the Firefly clan, Baby, the whole group there. And of course, and see, I haven't even opened it yet, so I don't even know what's in this thing, man. Except for I know there's a book in here. I know it opens up weird. And Lonnie, you have this?
Yes, I do.
Glenn, do you have it?
I don't have it. I've been meaning to pick it up, actually.
So,
If
Lonnie,
you're-
what's it? What do I got to look forward to?
If you're a fan of the movie, you better get ready. You're gonna love it. The Blu-ray transfer is absolutely gorgeous. You got bunches of bonus features on the first disc. You got a second disc with even more bonus features. You got a poster. You got the booklet and everything. I was thinking about this the other day. This year marks the 20th anniversary of Devil's Rejects.
Oh.
I pray that Lionsgate will give us something similar to that with Devil's Rejects. I pray that they will.
Well,
I am so.
let me tell you. Okay, I have to ask you. Is the quick little intro that he did for the return to the theatrical screening. Is it on here?
I believe so. Yes. I will tell you though. Okay. Do you have like a do you have like a Vudu account or anything? Because there's a problem. Rob Zombie did an updated commentary for the film. Okay. But the problem is the only way you can listen to that new commentary is you have to take the digital code and you have to redeem it. And that's the only way you can watch the movie with the new commentary on it. It's not on the Blu-ray. That's the downside. But
That's
the new
kind of
commentary
dumb.
is good. It's like you're gonna like that if you're like, oh wow, it's 20 years later. You want to hear his thoughts about it, like all these years later and everything else.
So when it says disc 1 commentary, is it the older
It's-
commentary?
Yeah, it's the old picture.
Okay. All right.
You got
Wow.
plenty of features on there, all the good stuff from the release past. But then, like I said, you got disc 2, which has even more bonus features. So yeah, you're gonna love that. So, I promise you, you'll feel like you got the fun.
Well,
So-
he, it's funny you were saying that a minute ago. With the 20th anniversary of this, I was fortunate to get to see it on the big screen. But now you mentioned Devils. How awesome would it be if that got a reissue to the theater? I'll see it in 2 seconds. I will go see that. I mean,
Hey,
but yeah, if Lionsgate can do for that what it did for this, and you know what? If it wasn't for this particular show, I love holding up something a little bit more specific. And even though I do have a great release that's got both films and the great documentary for Devils, I so badly wanted to be able to hold up something a little bit more specific to that film. So, yeah, I mean, as far as his first film out, I know he believes there's a lot of issues, and I think he made up in Devils. I think Devils is maybe one of the greatest sequels ever made to its previous entry. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to digging into that box and checking out. So my number 5 from Mr. Rob Zombie, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Just wondering, does it include the wow, what can I call them? Like splash screens that used to be on the DVD. The DVD of House of a Thousand Corpses had these like scenes, like you'd go to change the scene selection, and characters would pop up and they'd be like, "This is a scene selection." I don't know why you're trying to select scenes, but
No, that stuff's not on there. It's like the one thing I love about the DVD is like on the menu with Captain Spaulding.
Yeah.
Like, yo, quit picking your butt. Pick one of these goddamn options. And all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not bad. He's sitting there eating the dough. Ooh, that's a easy motherfucker.
One
That's
last
one thing.
thought on that. Rainn Wilson's, from The Office being in this, and I'm always taken back the first time him and Sid Haig shared time together. You can see Rainn genuinely is a little intimidated by Sid, and Sid plays with that, and I just think that is remarkable. That it just shows how powerful of an actor Sid is. And he can sort of kind of take over a scene and really make the person wonder where things are going. But wow. That's I'm so glad I got it, and I'm glad you told me that about the. I will definitely redeem the digital code just for that, and listen, because I'm curious to see what that commentary track is compared to. Because I now say Rob Zombie easily is one of my favorite go-to just to re-listen to a commentary track. The guy is easy to listen to. He's fun to listen to, and especially one of my favorites is H2. Actually, love his commentary track on that. And so, anyways, my number 5.
Interesting bit of trivia just before you start. Also, up here in Canada, to buy that particular edition of House of a Thousand Corpses, there's one person selling it for $121.68.
Cost,
So
cost
yeah,
me 50 down here.
that's not bad. I mean, you know.
No, not for that kind of a release. I mean, you're paying sometimes for a 4K 30 or more, and you're not probably getting anywhere near what you're getting in that release. So
Yeah.
I would say, I think, especially Rob, once you start diving into it and stuff like that, you'll be like, oh yeah, I definitely got my money.
Is the poster you get the original theatrical, or is it just custom art?
No, it's newly commissioned artwork. You might like it. You never know. Wait till you see it.
Yeah, I can't wait to open it up and just dig in. But I couldn't wait. I just wanted it to open it up tonight for you guys so you could see it, and so that's why I kept it from the group and everything. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So
Nice.
Okay. So for my number 5, I am going to go with Clive Barker's directorial debut. I'm going with Hellraiser. Man, oh man, this movie, you know, I know it's cliche to say it, but like, what can I say about this movie? It has already been said, but
True.
you know, when I was looking at, you know, trying to figure out which one I was going to do, and you know, just Hellraiser was just so unique, and it was so new and so fresh and so original when you saw it. And just the impact they ended up having on horror and everything else, and like Clive Barker was definitely a new, innovative voice in horror fiction. I mean, of course, like later on, he would go on to, you know, do more like dark fantasy and stuff in terms of his books. But the only thing that I'm really sad about is he didn't direct more movies, because we only got that he directed: Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and Lord of Illusions, which all 3 are tremendous films. They're amazing to death. But just, you know, and to come up with a character, like, even though like he was just originally, you know, called Hellraiser, you know, that would go on to be named Pinhead, but this character that just became so interesting and so iconic, and just, you know, and just the whole story about it. And the funny fact is like, you know, when you watch the movie, it's like he's really not even the main character. It's not really even about him. You know, it's more about, you know, this Julia trying to resurrect her dead lover and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
The fact that he needed to kill people and drink their blood so he could regenerate everything, and the fact that they use torture and you know, chains and the hooks and everything, and it's like, it's weird that, you know, that the torture is both pain and pleasure. You know, Christopher Young's music score is beyond, you know, just one of the greatest music scores in my opinion.
Yeah.
And just, you know, it's just, it was so fresh, especially at a time, you know, when, you know, to the mid 80s, about the time this movie came out, you know, you're talking that, you know, like mostly slasher, you know, horror comedies and stuff like that. To see a movie that was just like so dead serious, but done. You know, what I mean by that is like, you know, you know, you watch Hellraiser, there's no point at the movie willing to laugh. You think it's like, no, the movie carries you along, and it plays it serious. It's a serious tone, and you're in it the whole way. You know, it definitely keeps you into it. You know, so just, like I said, just, it was so, oh man, just so original, and just nothing like that before. So yeah, just for all of those reasons, just, you know, that's why I got to look. My number 5's got to be Clive Barker's Hellraiser. So.
Nice.
you know, I have to say, when I as a kid, with the, when you know, you go through the 80s and with the advent of the sequel that tried to just, and did, at least in some levels or ways, outdo its predecessor, I was such a huge fan of Hellbound Hellraiser 2. That, and you know, and the score to that one, and it just, I don't know, just this, that was the neat part about the 80s sequels, was just this idea of just taking something and just expanding on it, and doing something that was so much bigger.
Yeah.
And whether it was that, or you know, the TV ads for the first TV ads for you know, this summer, the ball is back, you know, Phantasm 2. I mean, you know, and going back to a film from 79, and, you know, just updoing, you know, bringing it up and making it bigger. And And I have to say, Clive Barker's commentary track on Hellraiser is great to listen to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And you know, I think Rob will definitely agree with me. The commentary track that Clive Barker did with Ashley Lawrence is a lot easier to do than the John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis commentary.
True that. True that.
Freaking Jamie Lee. Ugh.
You're gonna be like, "Don't get me started."
So, funny thing, my number 4,
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
Wow.
What else can we say? I've told the story before, but just in case anyone new is coming in, I'll tell it again. My history with Hellraiser. I first saw Hellraiser when I was about 10 years old. And a friend of mine at the time was some people his mother knew were away on holiday. They were away on holiday for an entire month. And he had to go into their house to feed their cats and stuff. Really hot summer. So they had air conditioning. So we would go into their house and just kind of hang out there. And they had Hellraiser recorded. We watched that movie every day for that entire month. Every single day we watched it. Except for one day when we watched Beetlejuice instead. But then the next day we watched Hellraiser to make up for it. Such a phenomenal film. A perfect example of grotesque beauty. Because there are scenes in the first Hellraiser that are just gorgeous to watch, even though you're seeing something horrible. Frank's resurrection scene is beautiful to watch. But it's a horrible scene, really. Dude literally putting himself back together from goo. But it's phenomenal. And it's the birth of a director that should have done more.
Yeah.
It's a birth of a director that companies should have left alone and not screwed with. But they did. And that's all we can really say about it, isn't it? So yeah, my number 4, Hellraiser.
It's funny, as a fan of this particular genre, I think more than any, you could be a huge Western fan or a huge lover of comedies or romance, whatever it is. But and as true as it probably is in those genres as well, only in horror are we probably as wise up on just how much studio interference there is.
Oh yeah.
And it probably happens across the board with any filmmaker in any genre work, who walks away frustrated. But for us, we're probably the only ones that talk about it, because it just hits so hard, maybe because of our genre and what that means and what we could have got versus what we did get as a result of interference. And, just so many. I was shocked at one day when I accidentally came across Dario having complained about the interference he got with Inferno. Because that was a big studio over here, and so interesting. Wow. So we're number 4, right?
Yep.
My number 4 is not Hellraiser. But it is a movie that I used to rent, my God, all the time on VHS. I probably ruined their copy on VHS. I wish I still had it today. Hate it that I don't have it anymore. But bought an original theatrical for it. I think my love for Giovanni Lamberto Radici begins in this movie. My appreciation for David Brandon, freaking love his character. Of course, I'm talking about Michele Soaves, my number 1 slasher of all freaking time. Stage Right, 1987. This movie, I'm telling you, and I'm showing my VHS because this is more or less what I rented as a kid. I could not believe, I could not believe that I found this on Amazon for like 12 and change. And I have a nice UK Blu-ray. I've got the was it the Scream Factory double feature with that, and no, no, the Blue Underground. I'm sorry, the Blue Underground of Stage Fright. But I can't stand the artwork. But this is one I don't know. I think, everyone loves everyone loves Friday and Halloween, but there is just a quality to McKaylee's directorial debut, and he would go on, and you said it a minute ago. Clive Barker should have done more. McKaylee should have done more, but because freaking TV in Italy was taking over, and all these guys were being relegated to TV work and not theatrical work anymore. It probably is just an amazing feat that we actually got Cemetery Man from him as his sort of, see ya guys, it's been great. McKaylee, of course, you see him as an actor, also as an AD, of course, learning under Dario and others. Of course, Joe D'Amato and his Film Raj giving him the opportunity to get his debut. I don't know. I mean, just the whole closed-in atmosphere of the theater house. Urban Wallace is a character. I have listened to so many interviews on this, hearing Giovanni talk about how the inspiration for the owl mask actually was something that McKaylee dreamed one night and got up early in the morning and painted. And that becomes the inspiration for the costume that he wears. The cast, there's, I mean, you can't find anyone in this cast that you just, like, there's no cliche actors, here's who you're supposed to hate, here's the bitch, here's the blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're all lovable characters, and you get, a moment where they all sort of band together and follow with, the director of the stage play, David Brandon's character, and literally try to hunt down the killer. And how often do you see that in a slasher? Now, Urban Wallace, of course, gets the upper hand pretty quick, but and that leads to that scene where, as a kid watching it, it was probably the one scene that I probably watched, maybe more than and that is when that poor girl gets pulled down through the floorboards, and then they're trying to pull her up, and then you hear that sound and her body just splits apart, and he just pulls her half up, and she was pregnant, or at least she had just found out she was pregnant, which makes it even worse. And then her boyfriend just, man, no fear at all, man. He just jumps down into the hole, man. Game on. Of course, can't do much against a chainsaw, but
Right.
I've heard people too say, how they don't like David Brandon's character because, as they just think, well, he purposely locks him in. He's just thinking of himself. I mean, I think he's thinking about everyone, and he's thinking about, this is their last shot to do anything that might bring them a steady diet of, I can buy food and put it on my table.
Yeah.
And I mean, the opening scene with the pickaxe to that girl and the rain falling. Of course, McKaylee is a cameo out in the squad car outside all night with Mickey Knox. Mickey Knox's character, I think, is out there with him. Giovanni Lamberto Radici is so great in this movie. So much, all of them are so much fun to watch. The trip to the and I gotta stop here, I know, the trip to the sanitarium to get her ankle fixed, and of course that's where Irving is, and then you sort of get that back. But when that girl is just looking through the fish tank at the fish, and the music by Simon Boswell, I mean, as a kid, renting this stuff, you had you had all these movies, but you didn't have anything like you found in Italian movies. The score was different. The vibe was different. Just the whole feel of it was different. And this has been with me my whole life, and it'll always be with me. And this is definitely one that if whoever ends up putting out a beautiful 4K release of it, you know, that'll be an easy jump on get, because that is one of my all-time favorite movies. But to just think what he did in the short time he had. And of course, he's the kid sitting in the car in the City of the Living Dead, watching his poor girlfriend puke her innards out, and of course, Giovanni always jokes how he always was stealing his acting bits away. I mean, he was supposed to be. He went after Bob's character, but Giovanni, you know, got that. But eventually, Giovanni would work under him as his director. But Michele, yeah, what a phenomenal director. What and Joe D'Amato for Film Raj and giving these people an opportunity to get out there and make something. Independent film company before people were talking about independent film companies like A24, you know, as you know, like we do today. Film Raj was anytime I saw a movie and that Film Raj came up, and I thought, oh my God, here we go. This is gonna be fun. And it usually was. It usually was. So my number 4, of course, no surprise, Stage Fright from 1987.
I didn't think of this until just this very second, you know. I wonder, like, you know, we all know that, like, when Quentin Tarantino writes, you know, like, he borrows a lot from Italian cinema, just cinema in general and stuff like that. I didn't think about it until you just mentioned his name. I wonder if, like, when right, Natural Born Killer, and, you know, like, maybe he was watching Stage Fright and was like, Nicky Knox, that's a good name for my character, and then wrote that in there.
Yeah.
You wonder if maybe he got some inspiration from Stage Fright. Who knows?
You never know.
You know, I mean, like he keeps bringing up all these names all the time that a lot of people, you know, from cinema all over the world that a lot of people never heard of and stuff. So, you know, yeah. Like with Inglourious Basterds, I never knew that Hugo Stiglitz was actually a real actor until after, you know. So, anyway, it was just a thought that I had. So, but. Okay, so for my number 4, I just felt like I really needed to add this one in here, and it's the directorial debut of James Wan. We got Saw.
Nice.
I thought about that.
I was just looking through my movies and stuff the other day, and then just to think about what an impact the movie ended up having on the world, on culture. And then James Wan would go on to become what he's become and do great, help make Insidious movies. Directed the first 2 Conjuring movies and helped with the spin-offs and all that other stuff. And it all started with this, and then such a unique, interesting concept, the idea of a killer that actually kills his victims and puts them in situations, lets them fight for their lives. And either they live or they die, depending on their desire to want to live and everything else. And and this puppet too, and it becoming this great icon of horror, and all that stuff. Just one line, how that ended up becoming such a big thing, and just bringing us back Shawnee Smith. If we you were in the 80s, you knew Shawnee Smith and you loved her. We were all in love with stuff, but just such an interesting story, and just the fact that they did this whole movie in warehouse, and okay, if they get to the bathroom set, this is gonna be the set, this is gonna be this and that, all that kind of stuff, and they did the movie in 18 days, and then also Lee would go on and do movies like he would help write Insidious and Wolfman, all that kind of stuff, So 2 new, I guess, Master of Horror working on now, and everything about this, and the fact that John Saw was one of the new horror icons, and that's the thing. It's like, as much as we are old horror icons, it'd be great to do new ones as well. Obviously, John Kramer, Jigsaw, has become a horror icon now. Tobin, and a lot of times, like twist endings and movies don't work. I mean, usually everybody complains about M. Night Shyamalan's twist ending. But James Wan made the twist ending in this movie definitely work, and even in Insidious, twist ending worked quite well. And so just, everything that this movie, and the fact too is that this movie is like, it almost has that same kind of thing as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where there's not really that much blood and gore in it. Now the sequels would be splatter fest. They have that much blood and gore. Even the unrated cuts, like, there's a little bit, but not that much. And it almost does that Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing where it's like you think you're seeing more than what you're really seeing, and also too, I love the fact that James Wan is, like, you listen to his commentaries and stuff. He talks about there's nothing I hate worse than fake out jump scares. I can't stand them. He's like, if I'm going to do a jump scare, and it's consistent throughout all of his horror films. He's like, if I'm going to do a jump scare, there's a reason why there's going to be a jump scare in the movie. And like the part in the movie where he pays homage to Black Christmas, seeing the eyeball through the closet door and everything else. And then you hear the scream and the mother goes in there and it's like the guy is in the room with the little girl and all that stuff. And it's like the movie is just so intense and it just keeps that tension all the way through and everything else. And you're sitting there like, you almost like the part where it's terrorizing the mom, the little girl with the gun and everything else. You're almost thinking, I can't take it anymore. It's too much. Oh man, so yeah, just for all of those reasons, like I just felt like I needed to include Saw and James Bond. I was like, I really hope get away from stupid ass Aquaman movies and please go do more horror films. So anyway, yeah, that's gonna be my number 4 is Saw.
Very cool.
You kind of said it, Lonnie, but I think the last time I revisited that movie, I was struck by how, in a way, Saw is to the rest of its franchise, it spawned, what the original Halloween was to its franchise, it spawned. It really is its own set off movie that isn't quite like everything else that comes after. They took that one aspect that you did see in there, but they amplified it and made the rest of the franchise about that. And I always forget the one cop that's in there from Lethal Weapon. Yeah, I always forget. Whenever I happen to go back and look at that, I forget that he's in there, and that it's a real crime drama, going on. And yeah, that is a fantastic movie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So number 3, it's going to be a really easy one for me because Rob just did it. Stage fright.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. What else can I say? It's just a phenomenal movie, and I have to say to anyone who has watched this movie and maybe didn't think highly of it, because I'm sure there are people, try it in black and white.
Yeah.
Turn the color down on your TV and you will have a blast. This movie is phenomenal in black and white. And it's just something special. There's nothing quite like it. I mean, honestly, I can't think of another slasher film of this. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to use the word ilk, but I mean, that's not really the word I mean. But like, this stands on its own as a film, as its own thing. Yes, it falls into the slasher genre, but it's something unique in the slasher genre. I'm trying to think of another movie I could pair with it that would kind of give you the same feel. Maybe Curtains. Maybe. But it's something special. It's a kick-ass film. And yeah, we need a really nice addition, you know. Don't get me wrong, this is a good addition, but you know, you could do with one with, like, I don't know, maybe some I don't know, not subtitles, like a commentary or something would be nice.
I always thought the best parts of that movie are when it's at its most subtle.
Yeah.
Oh, when he's just sitting up on the stage with all the dismembered bodies, and he's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
who knows, admiring his work, or just,
Yeah.
it's finished, I can just sit. And then, of course, you know, not knowing we still got a loose one running around, and Lucifer the cat, you know, up on his lap, and how he just kind of pets that cat, and
Yeah.
just the music as it's building and building, because you know you still got one left alive.
Yeah.
And just yeah.
Such a good movie, and you know, criminally underrated. Because I mean, like, we talk about it,
Yeah.
but when was the last time you heard, like, you know, people like out in the wild talking about stage fright? You know, it is what it is, but
And
it's,
I think really with David Brandon's character, I really do feel like it's genuine in the sense that he really hates it that, you know, the first girl, you know, dies,
Mhm.
and but sees an opportunity not for his own self-interest, but for everyone's self-interest.
Yeah.
And, you know, locking everyone in, as far as anyone would know, by immediately locking yourself in, you're making everyone safe for the night.
Exactly.
You know? No one knew that guy had already crept in there or was already in there. And I mean,
No.
you know, so I mean, you know, it's hard to the only thing that you can really fault him with in the end is when he tosses the girl and run.
Yeah.
You know, that's where he becomes a little self-interest in for his own, you know, which, you know, makes the end a little bit, I don't even like to say satisfying, you know, because I hate to see I hate to see any of the characters go in that movie. I don't want any of them to die.
That's
And
definitely the thing where, you know, you like the characters, even the ones that are jerks, you like them.
Because he's genuine. He, on the
Yeah.
one side, you might be like, oh, dude, you're a jerk. But then 2 seconds later, he's doing something or saying something. You're like, like that scene in the room when he really shows genuine care that, you know, her ankle's still screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, so, you know, the people that just write him off as, well, he's your typical, I gotta hate. No, I don't think that, you know. And people don't even believe McKaylee when he says, you know, at the end, you know, that when he has Irving Wallace sort of blink his eye at the end, you know, all he was, at least what he says, is all he was doing is sort of taking a nod at the typical American slasher, where, you know, in the end, the killer is never dead. But in his world, in his film, his killer is dead. He's not coming back.
No.
Right? He's just been shot. It's just his way of poking fun, having fun. But a lot of people I've heard people on commentaries, you know, take that and go, well, that's just, you know, screwed up and blah, 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 and it makes it a horror. No, I just say people just, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to take people face value and believe what they're saying. And why would he just lie about something like that?
Yeah.
It's stupid. But
Mhm.
wow, I really did not think. I mean, I know you guys love the movie, but I just didn't think you'd have, you know. I figured you guys would leave it to me like I knew Hellraiser would come up. So I figured I'd just keep arm's length.
I think the thing that I'm surprised about, Rob, I figured you would have ranked that movie higher. You know, that would have been like
Well,
your number one or number two.
It,
or something.
Yeah, it probably, and you'll know when we get to the end of the five. It would probably be in terms of like when you're talking directorial debut, you know, you got your own built-in biases. You love particular movie. It's comfort food. You probably throw it on more than you do others, but then you look at others that are in your list, and they are just they're crafted and made at such a level that you, if you're just brutally honest with yourself, well, I would probably watch this way more than this, but this one is just made better. I have to be honest with myself. And so probably if I were to really, really, really think about my top five, it would probably sit at three. And when you see my last two, you'll know why probably. But
Okay.
it definitely would be fighting, kicking and screaming to get at least to that two.
Mm.
But it's hard. It's hard to supplant, I think, the one I picked for number one. So we'll see when we get there.
I think it's your turn, Rob.
Oh, crap. Well, let's just go to a movie that is fairly new in my life, which is odd, but it severely kicked my ass the first time I watched it, and any time I watched it, and I could not believe that the main antagonist was a character that I absolutely love from my favorite U-boat movie of all time. And in fact, I avoided this movie because what little I heard of it, I just assumed, that's probably too much you want to stomach. You don't want to watch it. And then we had a body bags thing where I think it was True Life Serial Killer. And I knew I had never seen it, and it was a perfect opportunity. I knew there was a perfect release of it that came with a book and everything else. But this one of those movies where when I saw it for the first time, I thought to myself, how am I just seeing this for the first time now? And I really actually need to go back and look at this again sometime when I have a chance. But from 1983, um, Gerard Cargo, if you say it right, Angst from 1983. The true life about the Nisak murders, where they just let him out and shouldn't have let him out, and then immediately he just goes and attacks family. This has got to be this says it all right there.
Yep.
Just from the opening scene of seeing him in that restaurant, just the way the camera moves up, watches him chow down on that food, and you could just get that disgusting feeling that this dude's got some things up here rolling that are not good. And I don't know, man. Erwin later, who is our ghost. You ever seen Das Boot, Lonnie?
No.
You seen Angst though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Erwin Leader. He's a big character, pretty big character, and where he really shows his acting chops in Das Boot. He has a temporary mental breakdown, and in real life war situation, you have a mental breakdown, you're usually shot because you can't risk the safety of the others or the mission or anything else. But it's a moment where the rest of the U-boat crew, they love him so much that they really put themselves between him and the captain and do everything they can to kind of get his head straight. And he will get his head straight, and the captain will, who's played by our I always forget his name. The captain of the U-boat is played by our main antagonist from Beverly Hills Cop Part 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jürgen Prochnow?
Huh?
Or no? Was it Jürgen Prochnow?
Yeah, he's the captain of the U-boat, and so the conversation he has with Erwin Leader is pretty amazing in that movie. But the first time I saw him, holy crap, is he a freaking psychopath in this movie? And all I thought, man, if we could see another movie where we were actually watching Billy up and close, it would be this guy from Black Christmas. It would be this guy. Is this guy like Billy? He moves, acts like an animal. And no sense of moral compass at all in this guy, man. He is just animal instinct. But the cinematography blew me away. And I was really shocked that this guy didn't go on to really do anything more after this. He did couple things. He did have his hand in creating a film festival over there in Germany, I think. Yeah, I was so blown. It's like, and that's why I said with Henry, this, I was like, Henry in my top 5, Angst in my top 5, and I don't know. I think the way this, in some ways, this is an easier movie to get through than Henry. In some ways, which is weird to say because they're both gut punchers.
Maybe because of like the, Henry is like in like an American city sort of thing. It's like, this is what we know.
Maybe. And
Could
like
be.
a movie, like a regular fictional movie, this is at a faraway place, and even though it's based on, anyways, this movie, how as a director do you come out your first time out and you create something like Henry, create something like Angst, or even for that Last House on the Left, or these gut punchers of, and that's why I asked earlier, is it possible that these guys could ever go back and really truly re-visualize or re-realize what they did so young in their youth?
I don't know. I mean,
it's tough, man, because you're young. Usually you're young and just pissed off at the world and you want everyone to share in it.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, it's like Romero would probably say, 30 years later, you're one of the zombies walking the mall comfortable.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to go back and re-feel that, that time when you were just so angry and you just wanted to, like, in the old days, I know this would be politically incorrect today, but in the old days, the dog made a mess in your house, you just put his nose in it so he didn't do it again. And a lot of times these directors, man, they just wanted to, they create a mess and then take you and rub your nose in it and go, just take a good whiff of this. This is how I feel right now, about a lot of things. And that's what makes some of these works of art so powerful. Angst from 1983.
Nice.
Yeah, we keep talking about, you keep bringing up Das Boot and everything else. I still hope one of these days you ever get a chance to watch the movie Beer Fest, and that, or your does the little nod to Das Boot. I think you get a laugh out of that. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to be angry with you, but just, I don't like it on these levels. I had a really bad experience once.
That's funny.
So I think you love that joke in there. So, okay. For my number 3, this one, this is a director's first movie and his last movie. But I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to have this in there. We got Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I don't know what the deal is. I mean, like King would later go on to say that, like he never directed again, which I don't know why he didn't. Everybody is always talking about, the problem was when he made this movie, he was so coked out of his mind, he didn't know what the hell was going on and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I can probably see that.
He would later go on to completely disown this movie and just not want anything to do with it and just try to like not want it to even exist and stuff. But my God, okay, it's not going to pick up to a lot of his literary work like The Shining, or Shawshank Redemption or anything like that. But damn, this movie is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is so fun to watch. It's bloody, it's gory. You got great, funny characters. You got great lines of dialogue, and all that stuff. The very opening of the movie where King shows up, and he's like, "Hey, honey, this machine called me an asshole." AC/DC music in this is just above and beyond. I mean, my God, easily one of the best soundtracks of the 1980s movies. AC/DC, Maximum Overdrive. Just this movie is just so much fun to watch. You got, he probably doesn't want to admit it now, but I mean, like Emilio Estevez was a great lead. Pat Harrington, of course, will later be Commissioner Gordon in Tim Burton's Batman movies, but thank you, brother. Just all this stuff, just and the Green Goblin truck, which would go on to become super iconic and everything else, and then you got future Lisa Simpson in this movie. You got Yuri Smith in there, the parties, and all this stuff, and this movie is just so much fun to watch, and it's like, wow. And just the idea too. The idea is interesting too. The idea of a comet that kind of covers Earth, and then for 7 days, all the electronics and everything else are going to go crazy and kill everybody. And there's just so much to unwrap about this movie. But I don't get it. I don't know why King hates this movie so much, but and over the years, just everybody just has grown to love it. I mean, it's not the most sophisticated thing he's ever done, but still, I mean, man, just sheer entertainment value. This movie is so much fun, and you put it on, sit down and watch it easily. No problem, easy watch. It's just fun. But anyway, so probably for number 3, that's going to be Maximum Overdrive. Stephen King's one. Just kind of, no offense, but I think King is a little bit of a wimp in the sense that he didn't he's like, I was so drugged up and everything else when I made that movie. He's like, well, God forbid you go maybe try again, see what you could do now with a clear head and everything else. You could concentrate more and everything else. You could do something great. Who knows? But it's not.
It was so funny because the way you just said that right now, just for a second, it sounds like he was on the drugs. Why don't you go try it again?
No,
and I was like, okay.
Now that you're clean and sober and everything else, try making a movie now and everything else. So,
I wish we'd get.
Fuck it, I will take drugs and go make another movie. If he does, I hope it's as good as Maximum Overdrive. But no, this movie is just, man, it's great. Everything about it is great. It's just sheer entertainment, So number 3, Maximum Overdrive for me.
I wish we would get more movies where you just take a band like AC/DC and just let them cover the whole film. I always wondered what, like Thor Ragnarok would have been if the whole thing would have been Led Zeppelin. You look at some movies, Queen did a few, I think most of Highlander, was it Highlander, Queen, pretty much a whole Queen score?
Yeah, Highlander, Flash Gordon.
Yep.
I think there was another one.
Yeah, I think there was 3. Yeah. Yeah.
It was that version of Metropolis that had all modern music in it for the time. I think Queen had a big part in that too.
Well, yeah.
I was, when is Metallica going to offer a score or something to a film? I mean, they played with the symphony thing, a little bit, I don't know, but Maximum Overdrive is a fun freaking movie. And I was tempted to look up Stephen King because I couldn't remember what his directorial debut was, but I never did. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, he just the one and only, unfortunately. But going back to movies was, look at Resident Evil. Marilyn Manson did the music for that movie, and Desperado, Los Lobos did the score and everything for that movie. So yeah, it would be nice if we could get more of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so number 2. I'm going with the mighty Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and
I didn't think about that one.
Dan
I'm thinking-
O'Bannon's directorial debut. He only ever really directed, from what I know, 2 movies. He did Return of the Living Dead and did The Resurrected. Both are phenomenal movies, and both show, again, a talent that I don't want to say was squandered, but was underused, you know, because how do you make a sequel to Night of the Living Dead when when you're doing it like your own way kind of thing? You do this, you make it like a meta type thing. I love the fact that he made zombies unkillable.
Hmm.
You know, because I mean, when you think about it logically, you know, if something has the power to resurrect the dead, even if you took out the brain, that power would still be there resurrecting the body. You know, maybe they wouldn't, be moving and stuff as much, but it would, I don't think, the whole brain shot thing wouldn't necessarily be the end. The designs of the zombies in Return of the Living Dead are some of the most unique, honestly, taken right out of like EC Comics, and it's something that needs to be done more because these designs, there's something about just like a bunch of like grimy dead people that just works, phenomenal movie, phenomenal soundtrack. Definitely got to mention that. The original soundtrack, not the one that was stuck on the early DVD releases, because this, like with part 2, some of the songs and everything were screwed up on early releases. So, just saying. Great acting, Don Calfa, Clu Gulager, James Karen. It's like, what else can you say? This movie is, I think more so than even Night and Dawn and Day, this is the movie that zombies are remembered for. You see people, even people who don't know anything about horror, they know brains. It's entered it's entered the atmosphere, if you will. It's become part of everything. And I think probably there's a lot of people who don't even realize it. And honestly, I gotta say, I don't think you would have The Walking Dead with their zombie designs if it hadn't been for Return. And any reason to say Linnea Quigley naked is a good reason. So, there we go. Number 2, Return of the Living Dead. And I am actually quite intrigued by this remake that they're doing.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything really since that teaser.
They did the teaser. There have been a few like updates along the way. It's the guys that did Killer Goats and Fog City and stuff like that. So they have the talent, so we'll see how it turns out. I don't know if it's going to be set in the snow, but I really kind of hope it is. Because, the whole trailer dragging the Christmas tree and everything, I would definitely be down for that. That's something we don't see enough of, zombies in the snow. Because my thought process has always been, if you bring like if you take like a dead person and you stick them out in the snow, they're gonna freeze. So zombies are dead. They have no internal heat or anything. They're gonna freeze. So in theory, zombies in winter wouldn't be a threat. You could go out with a baseball bat and just whack them.
Shatter like glass.
Exactly. I mean, like, they may be unkillable, but if you broke them up into enough pieces, you wouldn't have to worry about the pieces coming after you.
Right.
Just saying. So yeah,
Hell, do like the Blob. Round them all up, put them on a refrigerated plane, and drop them in the Arctic.
exactly. And it's like, when global warming eventually gets rid of the Arctic, then they can worry about them.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That is the perfect idea for a sequel to The Blob. Global warming has happened. The polar ice caps are melting. The Blob, gets defrosted up in the Arctic. And then you get basically The Thing in the Arctic, but with the Blob instead. I'd pay to see that. So that was my number 2.
Yeah, one thing I always laugh about is like whenever people are like, 28 days later, that's the very first time we've ever seen zombies run. It's like, no. Return of the Living. Hell, watch Messiah of Evil. Even the zombies in that movie run.
Yep.
And stuff.
Nightmare City.
Yeah.
Go, right?
I mean, they're radiated infected by radiation, but I mean,
But like also
One thing
too,
I always thought, and I wish a movie would cover it. The idea that, like, when someone is, like, say someone is bitten and turns into a zombie, at that point, they would be fast. But as they start to decay and everything, they would go slower and slower and slower. It's never been touched upon. I wish someone would.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense when you think about it logically. Like, this person was just alive. Now they're a zombie. They still have all the faculties, sort of thing, the physical faculties that they had before, so they can still run. I don't know. Just saying.
Another thing too, real quick, is like one thing that bugs me is when people talk about zombie comedies and stuff. Oh, those are the worst movies ever made and all that kind of stuff. So like, watch Return of the Living Dead. It's like it's done perfectly.
Yeah.
Like the humor and everything completely works in the structure of the movie. All that's in the humor makes sense. The zombies can talk. It's like, send for paramedics. So
what I just love is the fact that like a Civil War zombie knew what like cops were.
Send more
cops. It's like, okay. Apparently, back in the Civil War, they had cops, and they were called cops, and they had walkie-talkies.
Grabs a baseball bat. I'm gonna knock his goddamn block off as soon as he opens it. That's exactly what he does. Completely takes his head off. Like that.
I just love the girl like trying to like hold him down with like the what's it called, the tire iron. He's knocked the head off and she's still like I don't know what she thinks that's gonna do, but
Okay, your turn, Rob.
all right. Well, my number 5 again, was 03, and then Stage Fright in 87, and 83. Number 2, quite ironically, I guess, since today is my birthday, comes from the year of my birth. It was part of my my sort of discovery of this director's earlier work. The particular release, and the only release actually I have, was the very first Blue Underground release I ever bought. Probably represents more than anything the beginnings of a real attempt to build a collection, not realizing maybe even at that moment that that's what I was doing. But the Italian Hitchcock, Mr. Dario Argento, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Easily, it is one of my favorite all-time Argento films. I know everyone upholds Deep Red up, higher. I don't know. There's something about the maybe it's the fact that it's his first film. Just the aesthetics of it. I love Tony Masanti's character, Susie Kendall's. I love the idea of, and I know he'll return to it, but the idea of a guy who's kind of caught up in a murder, not understanding but wanting to get to the bottom of it, and just sort of the mystery of it. I love the whole imagery. The ability he can play with, setting something up and then, sort of, point, just sort of, can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? And I don't know if anyone, well, I was thinking earlier with Lonnie, I don't know, the end, when we get to look back and see how Saw unfolds at the end, is so masterfully done. But, Dario was called, the Italian Hitchcock for a reason. I mean, this man was, I think my favorite part of this movie, well, I love the scene with the, where he's stuck between the two glass, that entrance way, and then he sees, or at least he thinks he sees what is happening, but doesn't quite understand what is happening. And then the whole time it's a mind game of trying to remember, what did he see? Exactly what did he see? And, and I love how the killer just sort of more and more gets closer and closer and closer. And that sort of race to the finish line, and then the reveal. And I don't know. And then the visit to the crazy guy with all the cats. I love that. I love it that he's got to put a ladder up and climb up the ladder to go through his window. That whole, the obviously the kill scenes. I don't know. It is, again, it's just another one of those movies of like, how do you do this in your first time out? How do you do something this great? And it's funny, his cinematographer on this, I could not believe when I saw this. He would shoot, among many things, he would shoot Apocalypse Now. Which is amazing in of itself. That shows you, and I think too, if these guys who do so well, I think part of the reason why they do well, not just because they themselves can do well, but I think the people they have who shoot their films. And, I think there is a big difference, or it's somewhat of a leap between the two guys that Rob has shoot House, and Phil Parment that will shoot, Devil's Rejects. There is a pretty big bump there in that and how that's shot. But yeah, if I could ever see this on the big screen just once, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Ennio Morricone, the score, fantastic. I don't know. It's just a great film, and I probably do hold this slightly over Deep Red, although I love Deep Red. But Dario, will go on too. I mean, in '87, same year as Stage Fright, another slasher. Well, I mean, however you want to categorize it exactly. I mean, Opera is I mean, just a notch under Stage Fright as far as that movie is and I'm so glad I got it on 4K now. But yeah, so Michele has a lot to owe Dario, as well as these guys have a lot to owe my number one pick. So when we get there, so Mr. Argento with Bird, my number 2.
Nice.
Good choice. Okay, so for my number 2, almost taking a page out of Glenn's book with a zombie comedy, but this one's a little bit different. I went with Shaun of the Dead.
Nice.
Oh man, just the story behind it. That now Edgar Wright directed episodes of television, but he never directed a feature film to this point. And while him and Simon Pegg were working on the TV space, he did an episode where Simon Pegg's character keeps he's playing evil, and he keeps thinking that he's he's getting drunk, keeps thinking he's in like a zombie apocalypse and stuff like that. And it's super funny. And two of them realize how much they loved, adored George Romero, and they decided to make the ultimate love letter to George Romero, and that's what they did. And just the movie, it is so well done. I know a lot of people now say that this movie's overrated. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's amazingly made. It's one of those kind of movies. There's so much going on in it that you can't put it all up in one movie. You have to watch it once. And just not also too, just not just Romero, but like the part where Simon Pegg realized, oh shit, I forgot to call the restaurant, to get the reservation, and the name of the restaurant is Old Cheese. And then he's wearing the name tag, says Faree's Electronics, which is a nod to Ken Faree and this kind of stuff. And just the nods to Evil Dead and the nods to American Werewolf in London, and just the fact that their love for the genre came out so much in this movie. And even though the movie is mostly comedy, it's like there are parts of this movie it gets pretty graphic and intense. I mean, especially in the third act, it gets pretty heavy, near the end of the film, and that was kind of the best part though too, is that they treated the zombies almost seriously, but it's just similar to Return of the Living Dead. It's just they wrote the fine line of balancing the comedy with the horror, but they made it work. Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, they did such a great job. The two of them working together, and just a lot of the idea that they're so the joke that they're so British that they wouldn't even know what to do if a zombie came up to. So what do? They grab a box of records, start throwing records at it. Like a mug tree and all this other kind of stuff, and like, are the zombies still out there? Yeah. What do we do? Have a sit down? But just, and that was the thing, this movie ended up spawning, like, I don't know how many zombie comedies after it, but, I was like, no, did it as well as this. And just, it's so well written. The acting is great. The characters are great, and just, I think because being such a huge George Romero fan, and the fact that these guys are as well, just the fact that, this whole movie was meant to be just a total respect and appreciation to George Romero, which, if you see the bonus feature on Land of the Dead, when Sean met George, it's clearly, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, just talking with him, telling them how much inspired them, and how much they loved his work and everything. So I think because of all of that, and just it was a great start, which obviously led to a pretty damn good trilogy. If I say so myself, but yeah, so that's gonna have to be my number 2 is Shaun of the Dead.
Nice.
Little trivia for you, Lonnie. We were my boys have been working on their top 5s, and I actually was able to pull one out of my wife, got her to make her own top 5, and well, she had gotten to 4 and had that last spot open. I'm like, it's just not right. You got to have something. You got to have at least something horror. You got to have, and she's like, and then finally says, fine. My number 5 is Shaun of the Dead. There you go. There's my horror movie. And I'm like, fine, good enough.
There you go. Yeah. One of the best parts about it too is like, if you have somebody that wants to get into horror movies and you something to start them off with, Shaun of the Dead is perfect for that.
Yep, definitely.
Movie in the horror films, start with Shaun of the Dead, and then work them up. Eventually you get to like Fulci Zombie or Dawn of the Dead or something like that. So
yep.
Uno.
So number one, this is the one I bet neither of you have seen. I bet a lot of people haven't seen this. Number one, director Rodrigo Gudino, The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee.
No, I've never seen
Rodrigo Gudino used to run Rue Morgue magazine, and this is his film debut. This is a particular one is a Blu-ray from Germany because for some reason they never released an English language Blu-ray. There's a DVD, but that's it. The plot of this movie is what's kind of unique. Our main character is this guy. He sells antiques. You know, he's like estranged from his mother or whatever. His mother has died, so he has to go to her house and like sort everything out. Isn't he surprised to know when he gets to the house, everything in there is all the stuff that he sold. All these antiques, she's essentially bought every single one of them. And she has this really weird house, and like she has like a room downstairs filled with like angel statues. And what makes this all creepy though is the fact that this house is a real place. And everything in it is real. You know, they got it for the movie and they didn't have to put anything in it because everything was already there. All these weird antiques and everything. Stuff starts going on at this house, you know, like there's like a possible cult type involvement. There's like a creature and everything. It's just a really solid, slow burn, just creepy film. And it's a film that nobody talks about. In fact, most people haven't seen it. I saw this in the theater, actually.
Wow.
You know, which was wild because I think it was like a one-night showing or whatever. But I loved it, and it's just this is an example of something that the first theatrical feature hit it out of the park, but no one's followed up. You know, I don't know whether he's directed anything else since, but he should have if he hasn't. And it's just a brilliant movie. So yeah. Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee. Number one. Definitely recommend this to anyone that hasn't seen it. And I think you can still get this Blu-ray from Amazon Germany. Damn. So, number one.
All right, my number one. When he did this film, he probably in his directorial debut crafted maybe the most perfect gothic masterpiece of film, maybe at least arguably in any conversation, the greatest ever. You know, his son at one point later on, and unfortunately today is the day that marks his passing, in 1980, which I didn't realize until just the other day that he had actually passed on my birthday. I was only 10 when he passed, and unfortunately I really didn't know of him properly at 10 like I do now. But he of course would you know have the great influence on so many great Italian directors who would come after him. It just would lay a foundation for so many. But in 1960, he crafted again, maybe one of the greatest Gothic masterpieces ever. And his work on the black and white, I mean, literally, with the grays and the blacks, the silvers, and just everything has intent and purpose. And I'm sure people like Frank Darabont and others who, excel in their black and white, love for black and white, probably use this guy as a model for what they do. Of course, Mario Bava's Black Sunday.
Nice.
This right from the beginning, such a heavy with the score, heavy sort of boom, boom. Got the witch, being dealt with, and of course, as soon as the rain starts to fall, that's not a good omen. But it's funny how it's bookended with rain at the end, which does not stop, but allows the curse to nearly run through its course. But in the end, of course, love triumphs, and the witch is put back to the stake, played by the wonderful, beautiful Barbara Steele, which until late I never really realized that she was the culprit in Silent Scream.
Mm.
Which, when I was a kid, those TV spots were quite memorable, and it always took me. I always thought that the one kid in Silent Scream looked an awful lot like the lead singer from the Cars. Not sure why exactly, but it just. But Mario Bava, man, I love so much what he does, and unlike Will, of course, I do love Planet of the Vampires. I think that's an absolutely fantastic film. Of course, I mean, he singly does influence maybe the greatest, one of the great slasher franchises in America. Friday the 13th, by what he did in Bay of Blood. I mean, just even part two, literally lifting scenes from that. But from Kino, 1960. I can't believe he passed today, back in 1980. And his son, unfortunately, his son Lamberto did that great nod in the movie within the movie, when he, the demon coming back was a lot like Barbara Steele's transformation in the coffin when she starts to come back, which just a great fun movie. So, Black Sunday, my number one.
Nice.
Well, my numero uno. Sorry, Rob, I'm going to take a page from your book, but I'm going with Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses.
Nice.
I'll do you a favor. I'll give you a little look at what you're in for.
Nice.
Out of here. Hang on. Okay. There's the card there. You got that. Okay, so that's the outside of the box. Then this is the inside of the box.
Ooh.
Okay. Then you got your poster here. Hang on a second. It's a good sturdy poster though. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah.
Even Rob's in the picture too.
Nice.
It's only a one-sided poster, but you got your cards here. And on the back, you have notes that Rob Zombie wrote.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Huh.
Yeah, you got, hang on there. There. Then Captain Spaulding Ravelli. Yes. With Fish Boy.
Oh, yeah.
This one here. Dr. Satan.
Satan.
You got this one here, and you saw this already. It's Baby with her buttless pants. So,
Nice.
and of course, you got your little booklet here,
Ooh, flip through that real quick.
You definitely know that had to be a nod to Fulci there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Spider Baby too. The relatives living down in that under the floorboards there that they would feed. You know, always have to feed.
Yeah, I had it upside down. Was the thing. There, like behind the scenes and everything.
Oh wow.
So. Yeah. There we go.
And that's about what, a 60-page book?
About that, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's writing. There's no writing. It really, it's just like just pretty much it's just all pictures and stuff and it's like so that's about it. So and then I did make one modification to mine that yours doesn't have. Yeah, there's outside. And the one difference I made to mine was that I put in my CD soundtrack for the movie. But there's the bonus disc. And there's the movie disc. Oh, okay, there's Baby on there. So anyway, so that's pretty much everything you get with it. But yeah, it's like I had a number of reasons why I wanted to go ahead and choose this one. Mostly being that at the time when this was getting ready, when I first heard about it in Fangoria and that Rob Zombie made this movie, and then hearing about like, well, it's considered so brutal and gruesome that Universal doesn't want to release it, so that Rob had to buy the back, and so he tried MGM. They didn't want to do it. Finally, at Lionsgate, which is nothing, and he was able to get the rights to it. They released it. Like hearing all of that just made me want to see this movie even more, especially at the time because this was 2000 or around there, and then at the time, like I was really starving for a good, just blood and guts horror film. I mean, all like the Scream movies and the Urban Legend and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and like a lot of those movies really, there was no love for special effects. The closest thing we had, Tina. And it's just there was really nothing there. It's like, man, where are the movies with the gore effects? Where are the movies with, like that are really horror movies? And even at that time, like around then, it's like they were doing their best not to call them horror movies. It's like, no, this is not a horror movie. It's a thriller. It's a even this was on. They was no, you don't call it from horror film. Call it action. Just and it was just like. I was starving, man, just needed something. And it's like, man, this came along. It was a perfect thing at the time. And, and I was, everything I was reading about it, everything I was hearing about it. And I was like, if this comes in a theater, I was like, by God, I'm going to see this. So it came to it was in the next town, which was like an hour drive away from us. I was like, go see it. My brother, he was like, well, I'll go with you. And so we both see it and sat down watching, and I was just so happy. Even though it was like, well, this really is just Rob Zombie's movie. Oh, this movie's so cliche and everything else. It's like, dude, that's what I wanted. I wanted a real horror movie again. I don't want some toned down G-13 just so teenagers run around talking to each other. It's like, yeah. It's like, and that's the best part is there's really no teenagers. We got horror veterans in this movie. We got Bill fucking Mosley. I'm like, hey, Karen Black, damn it, and I was Tom Coles, it's like, man, Otis Henry is like, yeah, man, it's like what I want, and everything. And I was just so energized by this movie. And when it came out and I saw it in the theaters, I walked out. Oh God! After all these years, that's what I needed. I needed a good, like, real, honest-to-God horror movie. And so sick of teenage soap opera stuff. To me, that's what those like screaming all. To me, that's what I feel like. I feel more like teenage soap operas than horror films. But yeah, just this here, man. I need it. The only bad part about this, I just wish. The one thing I am mad about Rob Zombie about is that he never preserved all the footage for the alternate ending and everything else.
Mm.
I kept that and was able to include it on here as a bonus feature. So
Yeah.
remember about this and stuff. There was a completely different ending where, spoiler alert, it would be that actually Grandpa's doctor saved. There was all this other stuff going on with it, and other scenes that were not used and everything else, and just irritated me that Robbie didn't hold on to the first. So one day, maybe we could see, and hopefully did the same for Lords of Salem. Like there was all kinds of stuff that he shot for Lords of Salem we're never ever going to see because he never preserved it and kept it, so we, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just with all of that, just it was perfect at the time to finally get real horror movie. I didn't get how cliched it was, or I was like, oh, it's a nod to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's fine by me. Texas Chainsaw Massacre all time. I'm game. So yeah, so just to finally get a real horror movie, when we were having such a dry spell, and just a total love of 70s horror movies and else, pretty cool. Like even though he only did it a couple of times, but Rob took a page from Carpenter and did on the soundtrack of his own movies. Same thing like Toby Hooper with Texas Chainsaw. So yeah, so for all those reasons, that's why for me, number one is going to be House of Thousand.
Nice.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to digging in there and going through that.
Just say I pray that we get something like this for Devil's Rejects. I pray it's the 20th anniversary. I pray that Rob is working on something like this for Devil. I pray we get it.
Nice. Well, that was an interesting lineup, I think.
Definitely.
For anyone who followed all the way to the end, hopefully there was some surprises, and it is amazing when you consider, from our honorables to number one, it is amazing to think that these movies were directorial debuts.
Yeah.
And I mean, even today we're seeing a few, here and there, the Black Coat's Daughter and the Robert Edgar's The Witch. I can't remember everything I scribbled on my 26 on my paper, but I do remember like Scarecrows from the 80s, 88, I think. That was a directorial debut for that director. Yeah, there was some surprises like that, but and Scarecrows was a fun watch. I mean, that was a fun rent on VHS from the store. Yeah, I think you'd be really surprised at how many movies that we love from the 80s, especially even 70s, probably where Messiah of Evil was a directorial debut.
Yep.
Which is amazing. I think you might have said that, Lonnie, already. I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I'm so glad I got to see House on the big screen. Yeah. And you're pretty sure that intro that Rob did for the 20th is in there?
So yeah.
Cool. That was cool to see actually before the movie. That was that he did that. My only regret from seeing it on the big screen, stupid people couldn't give me a freaking ticket. I was so mad. Yeah, well, okay, so we bought our tickets and I didn't realize that in order to garner my ticket, I had to tell the person coming into the door, showing my thing on my phone, that I purchased online, that I wanted a ticket. I thought I just got it up at the register. By the time I got to the register and asked, oh no, he was supposed to have given, and then it was too late. And I'm like, I said, that is crazy. I said, do you realize I wanted this ticket to go in my packaging? I wanted to keep it as a keepsake. If I ever have a poster, you know, a big poster framed, you know, I want the ticket in there.
Yeah.
You know, these people, they don't understand or think about, I don't know. So unfortunately, even though I know I went to see it on the big screen, I don't have a ticket to put, you know, there or whatever. You know, so, see, I could have framed that poster and put the ticket in there, and that would have looked pretty,
Yeah.
pretty cool. But well, if Devils gets a special theatrical for sure, definitely go see that one. Well, all right, that was fun. Some
Yeah.
surprises, definitely some surprises, and before you go to bed, text the title of that movie again. Your number one, Glenn.
Yes.
I want
No.
to look that up for sure. But all right. Well, that
It's not,
concludes our. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's about time these two go to bed. It's way later where they're at than I am. So
Yeah.
We're about hitting that 1:30. So that's
Yeah.
still Lonnie's movie watching is just beginning.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this concludes our top 5 roundtable discussion of directorial debuts. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we giving you some movies maybe you've never seen or never realized they were those directors' first time out, and why they're pretty even in our honorables. And I mean, I wasn't Terminator technically Cameron's first
I
since
think
he got kicked off the
Yeah.
Spawning.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there of great directorial debuts. And even today we're getting to see some today. And I'm pretty sure my birthday gift, this was Fetty's directorial, right? Was Evil Dead 13.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah. Fun stuff.
Hard to believe he got the job just for like a little short video that he made and put on YouTube. And Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and Rob Tapper saw it, and I was like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that alternate cut. So I'm looking forward. I'm glad I finally got it. All right, guys, it was fun.
Yep.
All right, Lon, you want to get us out of here?
Okay, yes. Everybody, have a good night. So.
Night.